date, but the Linden area, which is actually now Councilor Winslow's ward, the DeRocha family from Linden, they lost their father, Donald. He was 54. He died of a very short battle with cancer. I think it was Thursday. I don't know. It was Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. But Bridget and Beth, all of them, they're an amazing family. They've been in Ward 8 for as long as I can remember, and they now are a part of Councilor Winslow's ward due to the redistricting. So I just want to have a moment of silence for Donald and his family, because he was way too young to have lost that battle. So thank you.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Here. Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe. Here. Councilor Linehan. Here. Councilor McDonald. Here. Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Seeker. Here. Councilor Simonelli. Here. Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Winslow. Here. Council President Murphy.
Here. Under the provisions of the... No, it's not. Actually putting it on now. Under the provisions of the open meeting law, I just want everyone in attendance to know that this session will be recorded by UMA television, and so be aware there will be video and audio recording. Thank you. Clerk? Public comment?
Thank you. Did you want to read the rules on public comment?
Yeah. Okay. Public comment is allowed under council rules. Each speaker is limited to the subject matter relevant to the evening's agenda and must keep their comments to 2 minutes or less. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We have 7 people here in person and 2 emails that I've been asked to read into the record.
May do so. Start with the emails, please.
This is referring to paper 81-23, to whom it may concern. My name is Darren Josie, and I'm a 5-year resident of Malden, father of 2, husband, and proud brother of 2 police officers. I'd like to add my support to the Police Community Advisory Council, as it is an essential part of ensuring Malden's residents have transparent access to how our city is policed. I hope this is passed tonight. Thank you. Darren Josie, 581 Fellsway East, Malden. And then I also have on paper 32. I'm writing to support the city's limiting the devices on the community path. I know that there are some who would like to include a wider range of motorized devices on the path, but many of them can go up to 50 miles per hour. Even the smaller ones will do 20+ miles per hour. Malden is heavily used by pedestrians, and as we know, speed kills. The more speed, the greater the risk of fatalities for a pedestrian. They feel the speed limit signs will encourage the users to keep their speed down. I've already seen these devices on our paths going 30+ miles an hour. We have streets for motorized vehicles. We have created community paths to give those walking and pedaling a safer place. Please do not let them take that from us. If it has a motor, it should be on the street with other motorized vehicles. I've been enjoying the Northern Strand Community Path for years, and I'm a member of Bike to the Sea. I would like to be able to continue to enjoy the path, but will leave this great path as safest is my primary concern. Thank you. Jeannie Ventuti, 39 Altamont Avenue, Melrose. We also have 7 members of the audience that have signed up for public comment tonight. So, Zohab, if you want to come first.
What is that? This is a huge...
I think he's going to read it into the record, but he wanted
the
councilors to have a copy of it as well.
Is this a he?
This is, yes. Yep.
I guess I was going to say, I'm going to... particular paper. Okay. Just so you know, I don't know if you heard what I said, there's a 2-minute limit. This paper is quite lengthy, so what we can do, you're probably going to get stopped partially through, but we do have a copy, and we will submit it to all of the councilors here so that they can read it, the full text of it. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, 1 second. Did you say you're going to paraphrase it?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be perfect. So if you would state your name and address for the record, please.
For sure. Good evening, everybody and councilors. My name's Zohaib Mahmood. I'm a Malden resident from Ward 2. I'm also the founder of Boston Personal Electric Vehicles, a community group with over 170 active riders and quickly growing. I'm here today to speak on the subject of the proposed ordinance on the regulations of bicycle trails. As someone who relies on one-wheeled electric mobility device as my primary mode of transportation, a uni-wheel in the proposed ordinance's definitions, I believe that these regulations are overly restrictive and don't take into account the rapidly evolving nature of these devices and their positive impact on health, community, transit access, and reduction of carbon emissions. I think these things need to be considered. Community groups that make significant use of multi-use paths in Malden and were instrumental in their creation were not consulted, and their input was not considered in the design of this amendment. Bike to the Sea, one of the key organizations that spearheaded funding and development and the development of the Northern Strand Community Trail, an extremely popular multi-use path that travels through both Malden, Everett, Lynn, and Saugus, was not reached out to in the drafting process for this amendment, and I've confirmed that both with their executive director and program manager. 3 Everett City Councilors have signed on in support of this letter of opposition you have in front of you, and were not consulted about this at all. This affects neighboring towns as riders travel on the trail, and it's not feasible to expect them to leave the trail once entering Malden borders. They are extremely concerned about the possible impact this could have on Everett residents, and I imagine that that might be the case with Lynn and Saugus as well. Similarly, Boston PEV and Boston One Wheel community groups with over 500 combined members were not consulted, many of whom are Malden residents, and this was a missed opportunity to develop an initial draft set of regulations in collaboration with key community stakeholders that have industry expertise and could have spoken to the
Kind of finish up
policy.
if you can. So
Thank
key
you
points,
for your
please.
time, councilors, and I urge you to vote against or at least table this so that it can be revised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hi, Councilman. Council, thank you for giving
Name
the
and
community-
address, please,
Oh,
if you
sorry.
wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Evan Hagberg, resident of Lowell,
Address, please.
268 Liberty Street, Apartment
Thank you.
2, Lowell. Council, thank you for giving the community a forum to discuss the legislation to ban uni-wheel devices from the Northern Strand Trail. My name is Evan Hagberg, resident of Lowell. I'm a senior solutions engineer for a local software company. I'm also one of the group leaders and administrators of Boston One Wheel, a local self-organized community of 230 Malden and Boston-based outdoor exercise and exploration enthusiasts. And we are both residents and patrons of the City of Malden. I'm here today to provide perspective and urge you all to reconsider or hold off the vote against an outright ban on uni-wheel devices to include one-wheels, electric unicycles, and other personal electric vehicles. This law is drafted as overly restrictive, and we believe can better be addressed by focusing on the primary factor of safe access on multi-use trails, speed, and not specific devices. I personally use the Northern Strand Trail on my commute through Everett and Malden, restricting me and other safe, respectful riders of non-traditional personal devices, and many others in our group who safely utilize the Northern Strand. As a self-organized community, we utilize no less than 15 named leaders and administrators that meet regularly and are entrusted with setting rules and guidelines for all 230 members of Boston One Wheel, including a code of conduct that we all adhere to. When we pass others on the trail, we slow down and announce "on your left" or use handbells, and we move aside as appropriate for others. What I'm saying here today is that yes, some uninformed users of any device, including bicycles, can behave recklessly. However, we should not ban an entire class of devices solely due to these rare bad actors. Instead, let's focus on developing access to multi-use trails with authorized standards, speed limits, right-of-way signage, and other thoughtful controls, not outright bans. I encourage you here, the council, to follow the model of other cities and reconsider enforceable speed limitations as appropriate and allow all members of your community to respectfully and safely participate in our society. Please vote to reconsider an outright ban on uni-wheel devices. Thank you.
Thank you, and that you did that in 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Very good. You nailed it. The next speaker, please.
Hi, councilors. My name is Sam Lang, and I'm address, right? So I'm a resident of Chelsea, Massachusetts. Address is 160 Commandant's Way, Chelsea, Massachusetts. And then, so I apologize. So as someone who relies on these one-wheel devices, I believe that these regulations are overly restrictive and do not take into account for the current accounts that are already present in the Massachusetts. The rapidly evolving nature of these devices, on top of what my friends and colleagues have said, are over-restrictive, and these devices provides a positive impact on health and the community well-being. And in addition to what my friend said, that these devices actually has a lot of environmental benefits, that PEV is a more sustainable mode of transportation compared to cars and other mopeds and traditional gasoline-powered devices. And using these devices can help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And by banning them on these routes, individuals might be forced to use less eco-friendly modes of transportation, such as cars and motorcycles, and in this case, which could have a negative environmental impact. Also, as corresponds to the 3223, the enforcement of the announced ordinance is very difficult to enforce. In fact, that banning these outright, enforcing these ban on PVEs could be difficult and very costly, and it definitely would require additional resources and infrastructure from the city to enforce these thoughts. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker. Dan Hubbard. Mr. Hubbard.
Good evening, council members. My name is Daniel Hubbard. I'm at 7A Seagull Street in Rockport. I'm also a member of Boston One Wheel and one of the administrators, as Evan is. I encourage you to reconsider this ordinance. Doing an outright ban on a particular type of vehicle doesn't really seem to be the right way to go to me. I think focusing on a general speed limit and other rules of behavior on the multi-use path would be a more effective way to regulate and ensure safety for all. A lot of residents in your city don't have access to regular cars, apparently about 40%. A lot of people are going to be relying on delivery drivers or delivery e-bikers to do deliveries. And if they are restricted in certain ways, that's going to be a detriment to your residents, I believe. I think general speed limits would be better, easier to enforce, and it would be more consistent with the entire path. Somebody had mentioned in your letter that was email that was read out about these devices being more appropriate for streets. As you may know, riding on the streets in a city that doesn't have that many bike lanes can be dangerous both for bikes and for people on PEVs. And that's why so many flock to the path, because it is a safer place for us. But again, we don't also want to make that dangerous for pedestrians. But I do believe pedestrians, e-bikes, bicycles, and PEVs are compatible if they are encompassed in a global set of rules that we can all adhere to. Also, in some documentation, I'd seen that there was an idea of regulating by weight and saying some of these devices are extremely heavy, and that therefore that causes a potential for increase in injury. I'd like to point out that cargo bikes are becoming more popular. They can house 2 or 3 children. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're quite large and have a large cargo compartment. A wonderful device. It's common in a lot of places like Amsterdam. Those are also up there in weight, so you might want to consider that as well.
I'm going to have you wrap it up. You're a little
Thank you very
about 2
much.
minutes and 16 seconds, so thank you.
I appreciate the extra 16
Thank
seconds.
you.
Thank you very much, Councilor.
Sebastian? Your name and address for the record, please.
All right. Hello, councilors. My name is Sebastian Ramirez, and I live at 88 Hubbard Street in Ward 2 of Malden. I'm here to speak about also these new regulations on the shared use paths of Malden. And while I hope you all take the time to read our open letter to the council, I'd like to highlight a few of the specific issues in it. As this council has previously discussed, 40% of Malden residents do not own a car, and many of those people are in low-income households and have limited storage or time to maintain a bicycle or e-bike. The problem is compounded with the fact that the City of Malden lacks a bike shop entirely. Already, many of these commuters have turned to e-scooters and one-wheeled devices due to their compact and relatively maintenance-free designs. And 2 weeks ago, I actually met someone riding on the Northern Strand who had immigrated from El Salvador only 2 years ago, a blue-collar worker who relies on his electric unicycle to get him to public transport for his job. As part of this ordinance, if this ordinance passes, he would have to purchase another vehicle in order to continue to commute on that path or face being ticketed. While he may sound like the exception at first, consider that Bora Motors, the largest e-scooter retailer in the United States as of January, does not stock any models with under 550 watts of motor power, which would all be disallowed underneath this ordinance. He would not be the only one who would need a new vehicle to continue to use the path, further contributing to waste. In order to comply, a commuter in this situation would have to use a scooter that physically cannot go faster than 15 miles an hour, which would put them in greater danger when traveling to and from the path, since traffic would be forced to accommodate a vehicle that is slower than a bicycle. And we all know that none of the multi-use paths connect directly to either of the city's 2 T-stations. In essence, this ordinance contradicts the goals of micromobility by creating inequity, forcing traffic back onto roads, and compromising rider safety, while also discouraging potential homeowners and visitors who want to use useful infrastructure for commuting and recreation alike. The City of Malden is in an ideal position for micromobility. Please don't throw that away and reconsider the language in this ordinance. Thank you, councilors, for your time and attention.
Zachary, sorry, we can't read your last name.
Baum or Baum, whichever.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Zachary Baum. I live at 19 Sparhawk Street in Brighton, Massachusetts. I'm here to speak on enrolled ordinance number 32-23, an amendment to MCC 11-12-010, regulation of bicycle trails. I'm also a founding member and admin of Boston PEV, as a few of my colleagues are here. I just want to hit on a few quick points here, just that, there are some discrepancies in what would be allowed and what would not be allowed under the proposed enrolled ordinance. Largely, the idea that Class 2 e-bikes permitted with top speeds of 20 miles per hour and 750-watt motors, but e-scooters only permitted with top speeds of 15 and less than 300-watt motors. There's also a lot of assertions that uniwheel devices are either marketed as motorcycles or can travel quite a bit faster than bicycles or anything with two wheels, and assertions like that are simply not true. These devices have the same electric motors, the same batteries. They're technologically very similar to one another, just one operates on one wheel and is self-balancing and the others are not. But all to say that restricting the type of device would have an outsized effect on both types of personal electric vehicle. And so what we've really been talking about here and are behind is we totally agree with the need for a speed limit on the trail and a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit, and that as a concept seems spot on. The concern is really with the restriction of some vehicles and not others based on things like motor size and battery size. And as the technology advances, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, those things are just going to change again. There will be new options available. You would end up amending this ordinance, once every 3 years, once every 5 years, once every 10 years, whatever it ends up being. So the point being that something with more staying power, like a blanket speed limit that is enforceable with radar, that can be coordinated with the other towns that the trail goes through, is really the best solution here. And I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Zachary. Thank you. And the last speaker of the evening is Dan DePapa.
It's me.
Before that, quick question. Our youngest group member actually just came in. She was wondering whether she'd be able to also speak for public comment.
Does anyone have a problem with that? We will certainly let her speak. So,
Thank you, Coffee. Want me to bring the sign-up sheet over there?
yes.
Hi.
We can just have her walk. Okay, thank you. Do you need a pen?
Yeah, hi, I'm Dan Del Papa from 147 Atlantic Ave in Marblehead. I am also a unicycle user. I'm probably the oldest one here. I'm not fast. I occasionally commute from Marblehead to my job in Cambridge on one of these devices. I found it the most efficient, maintenance-free way to get there. And I'm also becoming disabled and will need a mobility device. And the verbiage in the regulations, the 3.3 that restricts it, mobility device for handicapped people, to only ones that are specifically designed for it, seems to go against the ADA Title II definition of a device, and needs to be rewritten. And that's what I'd like to add.
Thank you, Dan. Coffee? She's not going to ride it. She's not going to ride it. No, you're not going to, yes, yeah, okay. Going to bring it up and show it to us, that's fine. Councilor O'Malley said it's his favorite part of school was show and tell, so we'll. All right. So Coffee, I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but this is limited to 2 minutes. If you could state your name and address, please.
My name is Coffee Lessig. I live at 20 Amory Street in Brookline. And yeah, so this is a scooter I recently purchased for my partner and I to take rides up to Nahan, and that because it's the perfect sort of size for that. And yeah, but it turns out because it's even with the size of it and it being one of the most popular scooter models in the world, it's capped to around 19 miles an hour and was about $500. It can't go on the paths because it's about 350 watts, which is 50 above the cap for the path, even though it can hardly keep the top speed required for that. And yeah, it weighs about 45 pounds. It's about the same as a bike in a lot of categories. And yeah, thank you for your time. That's all I wanted to show, really.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. This, public comment, I don't know if you've been to a public comment before, but is just that it's a time for you to speak to us. We really don't, engage in conversation going back. But you're welcome to stay to hear how the process goes through the end of the night. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you for hearing this out.
No problem. Next order of business, please.
Paper 150-23, minutes for the meeting of March 28th, 2023, and paper 151-23, minutes for the meeting of April 4th, 2023.
A motion to approve by Councilor Winslow, seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Okay, we have appointments. Next order of business, please.
Paper 152-23, council reappointment, Robert Donnelly of 38 Gold Cliff Road, Malden, as a part-time member of the Board of Assessors. Said term to expire March 1st, 2026. Confirmation required.
Councilor Linehan?
I make a motion to recommend that we confirm.
On Councilor Linehan's motion to confirm the appointment, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment has been confirmed.
Paper 153-23, petition, outdoor parking, Regano's, Inc., 1081 Fellsway, Malden, 20 spaces, renewal. Paper 154-23, petition, outdoor parking, Regano's, Inc., 1152 Eastern Avenue, 10 spaces, renewal. Paper 155-23, petition outdoor parking, Regano's Inc., 1176 Eastern Avenue, 15 spaces renewal. Paper 156-23, petition outdoor parking, Robert McNulty, 28 Cedar Street, 14 spaces renewal. Paper 157-23, secondhand dealer Cash King LLC, 41 Lebanon Street, renewal. Paper 158-23, petition secondhand dealer GameStop number 6263 at 44 Broadway, Suite A110, renewal. Paper 159-23, petition self-serve gas station Gibbs Oil, 728 Main Street, renewal.
Councilor
Motion to
Seeker?
refer to license?
On Councilor Seeker's motion to refer to license, all those in favor? Oh, yes, yes, Councilor.
what?
I seconded it, but I wanted to say something.
Yeah, let me get you on, Councilor O'Malley. Hold on a second. Yeah, there we go.
So, Councilor Sika, I know I'm on finance, but sometimes I can't make the meetings, so I just wanted to mention to you, on the Gibbs Oil one, I know how I've kind of held this up year after year after year. They still don't comply with their special permit, so I don't know if there's a way we can call them in, but maybe we can work offline to kind of schedule something like that.
We could do that. We actually just approved this license.
From last
like,
time.
A month ago, within the last month.
Yeah.
Because you've had it on the table forever.
Yeah,
So yeah, no, that's fine.
thank you so much.
So on Councilor Seeker's motion to refer to license, seconded by Councilor O'Malley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The petitions have been referred to license. Next order of business, please.
Paper 160-23, order that the mayor be authorized to file an application for grants under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 in the Cranston-Gonzalez Housing Act of 1999, which is the CDBG budget.
Councilor McDonald.
Well, do you want to read both the papers and we can discuss them together?
I'm sorry.
I just have them done separately. Just-
Okay. Motion to refer to finance.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer to finance, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The paper has been referred to finance. Next order of business, please.
Paper 161-23, order that the City of Malden file with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development a consolidated plan including applications for grants under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, in the Cranston-Gonzalez Housing Act of 1990 as amended, to be administered by the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development for fiscal year 2024, including all understanding and assurances contained therein, on or substantially in the form presented to this meeting, in that Gary Christensen, Mayor and Chief Executive Officer of the City of Malden, be and hereby is directed and designated as the authorized representative for and in the name and on behalf of the City of Malden to sign and file said plan, to act in connection with said plan, and to provide such additional information as be required.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes, so just very briefly, for those paying attention to watching this meeting, annually we receive money from the federal government as our community development block grants, and our Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development works on a plan for how to spend that money. And so every year we approve the CDBG budget, so that's what this is, and we will discuss it in finance once it's referred there. And so with that, I'll make a motion to refer to finance.
I have a light on from Councilor Cologne-Hayes. Councilor Cologne-Hayes.
Yes, thank you. I will second that, but I also wanted to see if we could get a look at the applications that came in, or should I go straight to the office and ask for them?
You need to really go to, they're all,
I tried to look, I didn't see them, I might.
Attached to the paper, see it says proposed budget.
no, I know what she's talking
you're
about.
talking
Yeah,
about the
applications.
Normally, OSPCD, gentlemen, can we? Normally OSPCD keeps track of all the applications and they're on file. So I would say if you saw Alex Pratt, he would be able to show you all of the applications that came in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And if I can just say, I really do encourage folks to for all of my council colleagues, to take a look at the materials, at the budget, and please follow up with OSPCD and with Alex as our now Deputy Director for Community Development in advance of the meeting, so that that he and his colleagues can make sure to bring information that you want to the meeting, which I think we've been discussing scheduling for next week. So please do follow up and ask your questions so that we can have material at the meeting that you need.
So on seeing no other lights, on Councilor McDonald's motion to refer to finance, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Paper has been referred to finance. Next order of business, please.
Paper 32-23. Be it hereby ordained by the City Council of the City of Malden as follows, that MCC 11.12.010 regulation of bicycle trails is hereby amended by striking such section in its entirety and replacing it with the following language.
Sorry, a little computer malfunction here. Yes, Councilor Crowe for the paper. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. And at this point, usually with enrolled papers, we just make a motion to ordain. But I see Councilor Winslow and Councilor O'Malley, who are the authors of this paper. I do believe the appropriate step would be to ordain, and then, as we've heard of a lot of considerations to be made, that, councilors can sort of take that up and submit a paper, that we take into consideration some of those other changes that might be appropriate. But I will yield my time to Councilor Winslow, Councilor O'Malley.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Crowe. No, I appreciate the folks from the One Wheel World coming out here. About 30 years ago, I sat and came before this council. I don't think anybody here is there, but to first advocate for the bike, what became the Bike to Sea Trail and is the Northern Strand Trail. So for 30 years, we've been working, and some of the best advice I got as an advocate came from, I don't know if anybody remembers her, but Rosie LaCours. She was a counselor in Everett, and she actually drove cab at Scully Square. And she spoke in a gravelly voice, just like our former clerk, Karen Anderson, and she's told me, Steve, you gotta give to get. And what she meant was when you come and advocate, it's very helpful if you come and contribute and make the difference in the community. So that's why we have, Councilor Crowe, our bike fairs. We did our first bike fair in Everett, and we continue to participate with that. And I continue to be, though I'm not on the board anymore, I definitely work and collaborate with Bike to the Sea, and a lifetime member of Bike to the Sea. So, and then, out of that recommendation of giving to get, she explained it's like you contribute. And so when I came to the councils of Lynn and Everett and Revere and the town meeting of Saugus, I always talked about this trail will be beneficial, not just to me as a bicyclist. It's about making an impact on our families, of having a place where people in our community can come together and meet each other, and then help our businesses. And that was what I was able to do as an advocate to get people on councils to support this. And that's the standard that I'm trying to achieve here. Our bike path has been in place 10 years, and I was on the council 10 years ago when the council voted to fund it out of Malden's money, and voted that we have a requirement right now. This was always designed as a non-motorized path. We have signs up on the trail that say no motor vehicles. Our ordinance right now is very clear that non-motorized devices are not allowed on there. So, I know, having been part of the bike coalition, I mean, these bike lanes out here, I was part of the bike coalition. I went with meet Senate President Tom Birmingham, and we got the law passed that requires every street project to consider multiple users, not just cars. So, really done some very basic advocacy, and so I appreciate to know that one-wheelers are out there. Advocate groups are important. But like I say, that is a basic thing, and my basic thing is what's happened at the state level is the state legislation focus on devices. And you look at that legislation that says what can be used on a bike trail, that expanded that use to electric bicycles. It's very clear that it's those, and the bicycle industry nationwide has come up with standards of Class 1 and Class 2 and Class 3 bicycles. Class 1 and 2 bicycles, are required to not go any faster than 20 miles an hour, and they have to have pedals. So, that's what we're trying to do, is update our ordinance to be consistent with an effort that's happened at the state level. So that is one of the things. We're trying to make it consistent. That legislation, and I don't know why, maybe you guys are new in our advocacy, but it didn't define what scooters are. It didn't, one wheels, as this legislation was going up, one wheels are not part of that legislation. So I think, and as a regular user, because I'm down there either biking to City Council or cleaning up the trail and that type of thing, I see e-bikes out there. I see scooters. I see one wheels. And I got to say that right now, it may not be you folks, but there are one-wheel users out there that are zipping at very high speed, much faster than the 15 miles an hour. I see one-wheelers, they're basically dressed in motorcycle gear. So you're wearing like an out heavy outfit that if you wipe out, you're protected, wearing a full helmet. I mean, the great thing I find on biking on the trail is that I get to greet people. I can say hi to people. And when I can easily, I don't have to lift up my hood to say, hey, I'm here. I mean, even today there was someone walking their dog, a couple walking their dog, and their dog kind of scooted out in front of me, and I was able to stop and say hi, and talk to people. That's part of the trail. We want people to be talking to people, and we want it. We have Councilor Murphy, and it worked so successfully to get to community gardens. We have families walking in the gardens. The primary users of our trail right now are pedestrians. And I mean, someone said I'm out of touch. I want to tell you I have perspective. Over 100 years ago, Malden was a bicycle mecca. So in the 1890s, I went to the Henry Ford Museum in Michigan, and there was a picture of a bicyclist from Malden because bicycling was so big in Malden. And let alone 30 years later, the only governor who ever elected from Malden, Alvin Fuller, he was the biggest Cadillac salesman. He started out as a bicyclist. And so within 30 years, Malden went from a bicycle mecca to, and so much of our country, pushed out trolleys, pushed out, and so bicycling and pedestrians were set aside until the advocacy I did with the Mass Bike Coalition and Walk Boston to get our laws so that when we ever redo a road, bikes and pedestrians are taken into account. So I think that, a key thing is the advocacy that's been done for this trail. There's a real quality of life of having a trail that prioritizes non-motorized users, and that we have to be very cautious, because what tends to happen is that you put a motorized device in, and that tends to force out people who are walking and not using motorized things. So we have to be very cautious, and I think this is a good first step. Willing, like I say, we need someone to join our Sustainable Equitable Transportation Committee to talk about this thing, so we have more bike lanes. We need your help to get that happen, and we need that help. But we need to see people participating in our community and advocacy for these devices, and you can't take it for granted the 30 years of work that's gone on to get what we've got, and you have to say that many on the council, this is a great facility. I say when I'm down there and people know me, they say, Steve, I've been in Malden all my life, 50, 60 years, and this is the best thing that ever happened in Malden. And it's probably the most popular open space and recreational area we have, and I'm going to be protective of that. And you have to be conscious of that and not just come in here and ask. There's a lot of work that's gone on here. You have to become part of the community and work with us. I mean, my recommendation is that we enroll this tonight, and I'd love to hear more, but I have to say that, the performance, I was even out there last Thursday, I saw someone on a one wheel, they had like a truck horn that they blew at me. I mean, that's the type of thing that between the speed and that type of behavior, and like I say, the national bike industry has come up with standards that define things. There's nothing I could find out there that defines, what a class 1, uniwheel is, or a way to identify that. So that's the type of work that has happened at the national level and the state level to allow e-bikes to be, be put forward there. So that's the type of thing that I think that this is a quality of life thing. I also say the other thing is that, you know, folks from Marblehead or Rockport, I was at a meeting and commented, and I've been commenting very frequently, of the last stretch of our trail is going to be a connection through Lynn from where the trail ends by the Market Basket to Nahant Beach. And there are people in Nahant and Swampscott and Marblehead pushing back the fact that there's 6 lanes of traffic, and one of those lanes now is going to be dedicated to our trail because they don't want to lose a few minutes of time. So my concern is that we are a conduit, and I don't want our trail to become the speedway for people zooming in and detracting from our quality of life when they're not contributing here. So that's just all things. I just think that that's why this is here. I'm willing to continue to work. Let's get more, you know, scooters and mopeds and unit-wheels can ride on our streets. Let's get more bike lanes. Let's do that. If there's a way at the state level to have unit-wheels become part of that, we'll work on that. But you guys have to do advocacy, not just show up on our trail, ignore the signs and the regulations that we have, and expect, you know, to be, you know, I appreciate that. I will be the biggest advocate to get more bike lanes. As Councilor and I, we've gotten a lot of flack to get the bike lanes on Center Street. So that's the type of thing that we've been advocates. We need you to help make our community better for, you know, personal mobility devices. But that doesn't mean, you know, that there are not going to be some definitions, because we already have definitions that, you know, motorcycles and other mopeds and other things are not allowed there. There are going to be definitions by device, and just like I say, with e-bikes, there are definitions device. Right now in the unit-wheel community, there's no uniform thing that we could rely on as a council to say that thing is just too fast for this. So that's the type of thing. Right now, the behavior I've seen from the general unicyclists, wheels out there, they are going too fast. It's not appropriate. So that's just my opinion. And I think that willing to work with people, let's get engaged and work on some more things. But I think that this is a good start. It's an improvement. Like technically, under our ordinance right now, wheels are not allowed. E-bikes are not allowed. So this is a step forward. And let's continue to work and have that dialogue. But you know, I just don't feel we're ready at this point with the maturity of what wheels are and what is happening at a state level to really say we're just give carte blanche. Because to me, we have something good going down there and we have to be protective of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you. So I do want to thank Councilor Winslow for his advocacy over the decades. You know, as he did say, as a lifetime Maldonian, the Northern Strand Trail is the best thing that's happened to our community, and so I do thank you for that. When I co-sponsored this with Councilor Winslow, I do want to let Councilor Winslow know he did the vast majority of the work. I kind of just put my name on it. My understanding was it was primarily a speed limit. But as Councilor indicated, right now, pretty much anything with a motor is banned. And so I do see this as a step forward. I also think maybe the reason why unicyclists wear the gear that they wear is probably because the chance of falling and like smashing your face is really high. So I can see why you'd put more stuff on that make you look a little bit less approachable. But I do think that Councilor Winslow's message of engaging is really important. The fact that you are here is an amazing first step. I would absolutely be willing to work with y'all, I'm sure with Councilor Winslow and the rest of the council, to come up with the next iteration of this ordinance. I don't think it necessarily makes sense to hold it up right now because it is a step forward. But I do think there is a way that we can accommodate all modes, and I think that really the end goal probably will be a speed limit. I don't know how they're gonna enforce this, to be honest with you. I rarely see anyone get pulled over in Malden in a car, never mind on a bicycle or anything else. So I used to be a park ranger at Nahant, and I only wrote 2 tickets, and the tickets were parking tickets. And the tickets were only for red cars. And it's not like I was aiming for red cars, but it's what you see, it's what you notice. And so I do think that while I'm not encouraging you to violate the ordinance or the law, I do think that, respectful behavior all around, whether it's on the trail and other parts of the trail or on the street, I think building up that goodwill and rapport will get our ordinance to where it needs to be so that everyone feels included. So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you all for coming tonight. I love hearing feedback from people who use whatever it is in our city, whether you're passing by, whether you're going to stop off and have something to eat while you're here. So I really appreciate it. You had sent some emails, and one thing that registered with me, so I will vote to pass this tonight also, but I would like to work on amendments or however we could address. The one thing that stood out was the mobility for ADA. I want to make sure that they're ADA compliant. I can't imagine, I know that Councilor Winslow works very hard on this, and you're an expert here, but I want to make sure that that is something that we look at. I have a family member who sometimes needs to use help, so I just want to make sure that that is definitely looked at, and also speed limits. I'm on the bike trail with my dog, and I have to say, there are some bicyclists, they are so fast. I don't even know how they go so fast. So I see, at least when I see a motorized bike, I'm kind of watching them. They're bigger. The bikes that whiz by make me jump. But that is something that we should get a handle on anyway across the board, because I don't know how we're going to enforce this, but hopefully everybody uses, if you want to use the bike trail, you do the right thing. I don't know how we're going to enforce this, but I'm definitely into looking a little more deeply into this, especially to get more cars off the road. So thank you again for coming, and we'll just move on. I'll have my support to this tonight.
Thank you to Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to all the folks who came out tonight. I know some of you emailed us as well and didn't have a chance to respond, but definitely read them, and it was great to see a lot of you in person as well. I also want to just thank the sponsors and the ordinance chair for allowing some conversation on this, because I think anytime something bubbles up and there's clearly engagement on it, we do want to do our due diligence to kind of dig into some of the issues that we may not have thought of. I do think it's important that we move forward with this tonight and consider it either a work in progress or something that could be refined over time. I think generally speaking, we want to be encouraging micromobility, not just for climate resiliency reasons, but because it's clearly the trend. If you look around, not just youth not getting licenses in as high numbers, but looking around my ward, I definitely have folks who commute by one wheels on street, which is looks so scary to me, but I actually love to see it because it's not a car, right? So it's a cool thing that is out there that folks are trying and seeing. You can't know how well you're going to be able to fit in the traffic and until you try it. And I know there's a few families that have cargo bikes. We have some long tail and front loader cargo bikes in the neighborhood as well. I definitely want to be doing stuff to encourage that. I think there's a lot that we could be doing to create more parking for the larger cargo bikes and charging opportunities in a safe way. I know if any of you follow sort of bike news around the world, there's a lot of chatter about this, making sure that there's safe, not just charging, but batteries out there. The market is not very well regulated right now, and there was a very tragic incident this week with a fire of somebody charging something with an aftermarket charger in New York City, and folks lost their lives in that fire. So I think this is, my point in saying all that is I think this is something that we are gonna need to understand a lot better. The technology is evolving really quickly. I know Blue Bikes is adding pedal assist, and we want to make sure, obviously we're a Blue Bike community now, we want to make sure that we can accommodate that. It's very widely used. Our trail, we have data, we know it's predominantly pedestrians, and so many of those are kids getting to school, which I think, in a community where we rely on the T and we rely on private transportation to get our kids to really all our schools, not just our public schools, but our charter school, Malden Catholic. We have a lot of institutions that rely on the Northern Strand, and I really want to credential Councilor Winslow for just the years of advocacy in building a vision in a community that maybe wasn't ready to hear that at the time, that he had to lay that groundwork to get where we are today, where everybody agrees it's an amazing thing. Well, that took a lifetime of work, and I think that we're just at the beginning of what those considerations could be for kind of the future of micromobility and where we need to go, whether that's making safe charging locations, doing public education, making sure that our ordinances reflect not just what folks are buying and using, but what's safe for shared. We have to have a priority on our most vulnerable users first and foremost, and accessibility. I think we can get there. I don't want to see us hold this up tonight, but I think we would kill to have so many micromobility advocates in the room on a lot of nights, and so I do again want to just thank you for taking the time to be here, because it's not always the voice that's the loudest that we hear the most when we're looking at infrastructure projects. But in this case, I think there's so much more that we could do. I didn't even get into like DoorDash and Uber Eats and all of that. I think there's so much more in the future that we're going to need to talk about how these different items are being used and how people are getting around. But I think that we have a good council, we can do that. So let's move forward with this tonight. I would be in favor of ordaining this, and then we can always come back to the table as we learn more, and I hope that you all will stay engaged with that conversation.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald.
I just want to echo a lot of my colleagues. They've made lots of great points that I will not repeat. But I do think this is democracy in action. I appreciate y'all being here and starting your advocacy in this room. I'm also happy to support in any way I can, trying to figure this out. I just say, I'm persuaded by listening to you that uni-wheels should not automatically be disallowed from our trail. It's honestly not something that I had thought about when I was about the impacts of that when I was reading this paper in its earlier stages. Just procedurally, where we are in this process of approving this is for some reason that I do not understand, and I have asked, but I still don't necessarily understand. We have a process by which we enroll ordinances and then ordain them, which are kind of the same thing, but you have to ordain in order for them to take effect. So we are now we are in the nether person's land of an ordinance that has been enrolled but not ordained. So it's not meaningful to hold it up because we can't really change it at this point. So I also will support the incredible work that Councilor Winslow has done over the years and the really important first step in this, and just commit to being in dialogue with you all and thinking early on about the enforcement issues related to this, because I understand both the climate and equity impacts of prioritizing enforcement on the speed, not necessarily as much the device. So I'll also try to be engaged in that. And thank you for emailing us. I have your email. We'll follow up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Simonelli. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that. There you go.
Should have did that the other night. Would have saved me. Thank you, Madam President. Listen, I give you guys a lot of credit for coming out here tonight, and it's a start, like the other councilors were saying. And I, like Councilor McDonald, I don't want to echo my colleagues either, but I was one of those councilors that were here 30 years ago when Councilor Winslow was just getting the bike path started, and him and Joe Ladone would come knock at my door to have me come out with some trash bags and gloves to clean up the area. And I'll tell you, I was out there, and I was a young kid. I think it was like 17, 18, and I was out there, and I'm like, there's no way this is going to become a bike path. I mean, we used to drink back there sometimes, So that wasn't, it was never going to be a bike path. But, his perseverance, Councilor Winslow's perseverance, and, just talk about a dog with a bone, and we can all learn from that. And, we all have our own pet projects up here, and I know that the bike path is Councilor Winslow's project. And, I've got family members that ride bikes and all that. Your kind of riding bike, I think, is incredible and entertaining. I wouldn't know the first thing about how you do that. So I do find it fascinating. And I'm just going to end it with this: that it's a beginning. Councilor Winslow, I'm sure, would like to hear you guys more in the future if you guys want to talk about it. But I got to stick with my colleague. This is his baby. This is his thing. He's like single-handedly pretty much put this thing together and put it on the map. So, thank you for coming, but I'm going to stick with my counselor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. I do have a number of other lights on, but before I go back for a repeat, I'm just from the chair, want to say a couple things. I want to take this in a different perspective a little bit, because I am someone who, and I'm not sure, I might have been the only councilor here at the time who actually voted on this ordinance that was first put in place. Councilor Winslow, I'm not sure if you were here or not. So, it was definitely looked at, as a non-motorized trail. And I understand things have changed since then. And Councilor Winslow and I did go to the police station to talk to the police about how this would be enforced. Our traffic department has actually been beefed up over the last 6 months. So there was a lot of talk about how we would enforce things. But I also want to state for the record that I could fill this room with parents who use that trail who would be vehemently opposed to even an e-bike on this trail, okay? I actually had a parent who, when they heard what's going on, wanted to bring a whole host of people in because they don't want to worry about their children getting knocked over or anything else. So there's two sides to this story, and I think, what Councilor Winslow was saying is we need to start somewhere. I wasn't real happy even about this when it first came. I'm thinking 15 miles an hour, and I'm going, Councilor Winslow, you crazy? We're going to let people go 15 miles an hour, and he's saying to me, well, I can pedal 16. You know what I mean? So we had this dialogue going back and forth. It is a dialogue that we need to continue to happen, but I also want you to know that this entire chamber could be filled with parents against this. So, it's something that we all need to take into consideration. You've made great points tonight. They have just as great points, and the safety of our trail and the use of the trail itself is our primary concern sitting up here. So I'm sure we're all, look forward to, hearing what you're saying, working with you to some degree, but there's a whole other side to this that's not present this evening. So I am going to support this a little reluctantly tonight, but, because I do have some concerns about what will happen. And, one of the concerns that I have is that, when you have a car that hits a person, that car has insurance. That car has med pay. When you have a bike that hits insurance, okay, that doesn't exist for the person who gets hurt or injured. So, there's some other pieces to this that do need to be fleshed out. But I think tonight we've made some progress. We'll see how it works. The police department has bought in on this, okay, and we're going to see how we can monitor it down on the trail. Councilor Winslow and I had over an hour discussion with the new police chief and plus the head of the traffic commission, and we're going to put some things in place. So, having said that, that's my little piece. Councilor O'Malley and Councilor Winslow, you're back on. I know Councilor Crowe is the chair of ordinances waiting to speak, but I believe. Hold on a second, Councilor Crowe.
I was just actually going to make a motion to ordain, and as you've heard, councilors are really very willing to sort of bring lots of different people to the table to make it the next iteration of maybe changes to this that really does meet the need. So I make a motion to ordain.
Councilor Winslow?
One last, but I just wanted to follow up on Councilor Colon Hayes' point. One of the key principles that I don't think a speed limit ultimately is practicable. And like I say, we don't do it. But one of the key principles that we're trying to institute here is basically a behavioral norm. And this is what I want your advocacy group to ultimately support, that on this type of trail, the primacy is for people who are walking, jogging, using, human, so that's the first thing. The second primacy is people who are using human-powered transportation. And the last primacy is people who are motorized. So you have responsibility to yield to everybody else. No honking the horn to people go by. That's ultimately, and that's what we put in place for e-bikes. I mean, so that's, I just wanted to be clear that that's another principle. To me, that's the more important thing, that we want to send the message and get the norm out there that motorized users of a trail have the responsibility to yield to anybody who doesn't have a motor or who's on foot. That's ultimately what is being worked on here. And I say partly I have been involved in some regional discussions related to e-bikes, and I was very concerned that there was sort of an attitude, even from e-bike users, like if someone's walking down a trail with their phone or their dog, that's a problem. No, that's something that's appropriate, and you with a motor, you with me as a bicyclist have to make sure I stop for that dog that almost jumps out in front of me today. So that's the behavior that I hope that's in your norms or whatever. That would be helpful. Like I said, that's the type of thing that we're really, that's more fundamental to me than anything else, that we, I wanted to get our community out in the front of that. We want that to be the norm. And that, like I say, if we need to get that message out as more and more motorized users are out there, that's the norm we need to set. So that's really, thank you, great. And I would second Councilor Crow's motion.
Okay, and Councilor O'Malley for the last time.
Yeah, and it's, whoever had the truck horn honked at the wrong person.
Yep.
No, you just have to like go with a horde of dogs, and you'll be safe. No, so what I was going to say, just for the edification of the public and the council. So the reason why we enroll and then ordain, it's kind of similar to it's for this exact reason. It's to give the public the chance to find out about what we are making local law. It's kind of like, I think like in the legislature they have like second, third reading of bills. It kind of just gives public notice that, hey, you're going to have to comply with this. If you feel one way or the other, come out. I'm not suggesting that we do this now, but if for instance, we did want to not enroll this or not ordain this, we could unenroll and then work. I'm not recommending that we do that, but that is kind of the whole point of it, is exactly to bring you out, let us know that there's something that needs to be looked at with our ordinance. We're all aware of that now. It's, like I said, it is a step forward. I think we're going to ordain it, but we'll work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. On Councilor, sorry. On Councilor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor Winslow, all those in favor, the clerk will call the roll. Sorry about that.
Councilor Cologne-Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seca. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes.
Okay, 10-0.
Paper has been ordained. Okay, next order of business, please.
Paper 162-23.
May I say one thing? Especially you Malden people. Yes. We now have a facial recognition on the two of you. So. Okay, now I'm sorry, next order of business, sorry.
Paper 162-23, committee report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred papers 18 and 81 of Series 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends paper 18 out favorably as amended and recommends paper 81 out favorably as presented.
On Council Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report is received. Clerk, if you would read the paper, please.
Paper 18-23, be it hereby ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden be amended by adding Title 6, Chapter 20, Section 040, Permit for Exterior Vending Machines.
Councilor Crowe for the paper. Let me put you on here. There you go.
Thank you, Madam President. It feels like a long time ago, but a few weeks ago we had an ordinance committee meeting to discuss this paper. We have had some, in particular, water vending machines that have been causing some havoc in some of the neighborhoods. So, and we didn't have any mechanism to actually enforce or hold people's, feet to the fire if things aren't really going well. So we've met a couple of times over this, and this is just to put a permitting process in place with fines and, application fees, but just really outlines how a permit for an exterior vending machine, any kind of exterior vending machine, will happen. So think Councilor Condon was a co-sponsor for this paper, but I make a motion that we enroll. Councilor Condon, you have your light on?
Thank you, Council President. This has been going on for several years. These watersheds, like in the parking lot across from El Potro, people trying to get water out of those machines 1, 2 in the morning, banging on them. I brought them back to 11 o'clock. Didn't matter. They still could go out there 1, 2 in the morning. So I think this ordinance here shuts it off automatically at 9 o'clock at night. But they're collecting big money, the owners of that parking lot. They put the watershed right next to the people's property. They're not bound by the 6 feet rear yard. So now we have some kind of control over them. So I want to thank Craig for pushing this in ordinance and Councilor Crowe. And I'm thrilled to be able to vote on this.
Councilor Winslow?
Yeah, no, I just want to, recognize the work that Councilor Spatafora and Councilor Condon did on this, quality of life thing. That it's at times we realize that there's things that happen that are happening out there that we do need to regulate so that people in our community can have peace and quiet. So it's a great job. Thank you. I definitely support this thing.
On Councilor Crow's motion to enroll, seconded by Councilor Condon, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Claude Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Winslow. Oh, sorry. Mrs. Simonelli.
Councilor Simonelli? Is a yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. The paper has been enrolled. The clerk will read the next paper.
Paper 81-23. Be it hereby ordained by the City Council of the City of Malden that the Code of the City of Malden be amended by adding Title II, Chapter 16, Section 150, Police Community Advisory Council.
Councilor Crowe for the paper.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, we met a couple of weeks ago, and this has been a long time coming. It is part of the Obama Pledge and Unite Malden 2020 that this was recommended out of. We had the police chief into the committee to sort of discuss a little bit, and he is in full support. We do have a letter from the mayor that was sent to ordinance, but I'm going to ask the city clerk to read that letter of support for forming this council as well. And then I'll make a motion. I think Councilor McDonald wants to say something too, but I'll make a motion that we enroll.
Dear members of the City Council, I am writing in support of proposed City Ordinance 2.16.150 establishing a Police Community Advisory Council. This proposal comes out of the work accomplished by the advisory group on Obama's Pledge, which worked to review Malden's use of force policy. As you may recall, in June of 2020, as part of Unite Malden 2020, we answered the Obama Foundation's call to action and signed a pledge to work with the Malden Police Department and the community to review Malden's use of force policy. An advisory group for Obama's Pledge was formed, made up of community members who leveraged their experiences and backgrounds to provide input on the current policy. They have worked tirelessly over the last few years to review, research, provide insight, and identify areas of improvement, specifically through the lens of a community member. Their recommendations include the formation of the Police Community Advisory Council. The proposed ordinance establishes the Police Community Advisory Council and sets forth its mission and responsibilities. The aim is to promote public awareness and community engagement on the city's police services, programs, and general public safety issues. The Police Community Advisory Council will also help to facilitate open dialogue and assist the Malden Police Department in their public safety mission. I want to take this opportunity to thank the members of the advisory group of Obama's Pledge, which included Jay Bimani, Kelly Collum, Isadel Eddy, Ben Hartzel, Karen Cologne Hayes, now City Councilor at Large, Darren Josie, Tyhoon Lawrence, Carrie McDonald, now City Councilor at Large, Yusin Monk, Urga Paret, Tamaline Rock, thank you, and thank you, Fructy Siege. Also working with the group were City Councilors Amanda Linehan and Stephen Winslow, former City Councilor Neil Anderson, and Maria Louise from my office. Community input was critical to this process, and their time and commitment to this work is sincerely appreciated. Again, I support this proposal and look forward to working with you, the proposed PCAC, and Police Chief Glenn Cronin to ensure more transparent and equitable public safety policies in Malden. Sincerely, Gary Christensen, Mayor, City of Malden.
Thank you. Councilor McDonald.
Thank you all. I just want to say that this has been this has been a really good and in-depth process that brings us to this point. We talked about this in our committee, and this has been an issue that's been close to my heart for some years, and work that I did as a community advocate before I was on the council, including being a member of this advisory group on policing. I think that, public safety is one of the core things that our cities do, and it impacts people in the community differently. And Malden, as such a diverse community, is lucky to have the leadership in our police department that we have. And I also recognize that folks are coming to Malden from so many different experiences, different countries, totally different norms about what public safety and policing even looks like in different parts of the world. And so there's, we can never do too much to provide for the kind of open and honest transparency and engagement about what our policing practices are, what overall public safety issues are, and where that intersects with other types of public safety agencies. And so this ordinance creates this advisory council, which is not the kind of investigative function or complaint hearing function that the state does take on. The state has created a peace officer standards and training commission, the post commission, who is responsible for that. So this is about our community's engagement with our police department. And in the ordinance, it lists the functions of the advisory council to engage in public information and feedback, to review data annually about the police department's policies as well as practices, demographics, and gives it a good public forum to be able to review those things, and is able to make recommendations based on those public conversations. And is charged to reach out specifically to community members who have experienced racism, gender-based discrimination, homophobia, ableism, other forms of oppression, or those who otherwise have been disproportionately impacted by the criminal justice system. And so, I want to recognize, it's a tough issue, and that's why we need to lean into it, and we need this, we need this opportunity for community engagement. I firmly believe that as a person of color who did not grow up in Malden, but has certainly had difficult experiences with the police. And I just want to say that on the record because it's important for people to be able to hear that from an elected official. And that's part of my commitment to this. But really my commitment is about justice and about inclusion and safety. And I have to say that throughout this process, I have only become more impressed with the Malden PD. I want to say a number of just thank yous in this. Thank you to the mayor for putting this forward. Thank you to now Councilor Cologne Hayes, who worked for the mayor at the time and was the initial staff person to convene our group. Thank you to Maria Louise in the mayor's office for keeping this on. Thank you to Chief Glenn Cronin, who worked with us on this drafting, and to our former police chief. But we've done the drafting with Chief Cronin, and he's just been a great conversation partner and open to suggestions and feedback, and really brings an incredible amount of professionalism and care to his department and the officers that he works with. So I want to say thank you to that. And of course to my fellow AGOP members who the mayor already named, but we were just in a lot of meetings together. Late night on Sundays. Jay, Kelly, Isabel, Ben, Darren, Tahoon, Yusin, Urga, Tamerly, and Brooke T. Thank you for all your work on this. So we had a great conversation in committee. I appreciated everybody's support and hope to have your support tonight to make this a permanent and ongoing part of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Yes, thank you. I will not name all the committee members again, but some of them are watching, so I wanted to personally thank them. Like Councilor McDonald had said, years ago when I was gathering this group together, we did not know how it was going to go, and this group of volunteers are so hardworking, so thoughtful, and yes, we did spend many nights and days and emails and public meetings. We had public meetings and really, really hard discussions, and it's all come to, fruition now, and so I'm really proud about to have this and in support. I do also want to say, there was a public surveys and lots of input from the community. And personally, I have also reached out to the chief. We've had many conversations. One of my big issues and one of the reasons why I dove into this was because of mental health issues and surrounding how police officers deal with people that they get calls for mental health issues, substance abuse issues. That's near and dear to my heart, and we've talked a lot about it. So it brought up great conversations and training that's going to be involved, and I just think it's a wonderful thing for our community. So I hope everybody is in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cologne-Hayes. Councilor Crowe, you made a motion to enroll.
A motion to enroll.
Seconded by Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne-Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Winslow.
Enthusiastic, yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. Next order of business, please.
Paper 163-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred Paper 34 of Series 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. After hearing presentations from the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, City Planner Michelle Romero, and Stantec Urban Places on the MBTA Communities Multifamily Housing Zoning Law, the committee recommends by unanimous vote scenario number 1, adding capacity, prioritizing near transit, as was discussed at the Rules and Ordinance meeting of April 4th, 2023.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. The paper has been received. The clerk will read the paper, please.
Paper 34-23, resolved that it is the sense of the City Council that they wish to invite Malden City Planner Michelle Romero and OSPCD's Senior Planner and Policy Manager Evan Spatrini to appear to provide an update on the city's analysis of the new MBTA Communities Multifamily Zoning Requirements codified in Section 3A of MGL Chapter 40A.
Councilor Crowe for the paper.
Thank you, Madam President. So last week we had actually a wonderful meeting, and we had Stantec here who gave us 3 scenarios on which way we should go. And every council, well, the majority council here and the 2 that weren't here were watching on TV, so they got the full effect of the whole presentation. And again, I thought we had some great dialogue. People asked some really great questions. And the consultants from Stantec, really I think took people's, concerns and, points to heart about when Councilor O'Malley had talked about really maintaining the commercial businesses and, doing some corridors. And I thought a lot of people really had some great impact and information. And so the Ordinance Committee had voted that we really wanted to follow through with scenario number 1. And again, there's going to be a lot more votes. This is an ongoing process. It might be some zoning changes, but out of the 3 scenarios that were explored, we needed to narrow it down so we really can kind of focus up and make some changes to actually affect this and be in compliance. We do have our city planner here if there is any other outstanding questions about that. And the resolve that we had passed, we had sent the resolve into ordinance, but I would like to make a motion that as a part of that resolve that we do vote again that we explore scenario number 1, adding capacity, prioritizing near transit.
Okay, so one light on so far. Councilor O'Malley.
Yeah, I was a little confused about the paper being on the docket. I was even more confused when you read it, because I think it references like April 4th. Because my understanding was that you voted to lean into option 1, but really for them to come back with a new option. And I thought that was gonna come to the ordinance committee, to kind of discuss. Because I wouldn't be comfortable voting on option one, because I don't think that was what, at least, that wasn't my understanding of that meeting. My understanding was that they would kind of come up with another iteration, kind of option 4, which is kind of what you indicated. Because I definitely think it would make sense to see what their new iteration looks like before we take a vote.
My understanding is the ordinance committee voted that we explore option number 1, and with some caveats that they would look at more at the corridors that you had suggested and some of the other things. So, but as the dialogue went on, and I said it sounds like we're doing a 4th option, but 1 was the one out of the 3 that we were voting on. But again, I think the points from you and other councilors were taking from the, and notes were taken from the consultants to explore within number 1 sort of more expansive areas.
Yeah, and I guess this doesn't mean anything, right? Because it's a resolution to invite them to come on April 4th. I was just, procedurally, we've never really done this before. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the new iteration, but I wouldn't be able to vote on this tonight, only because it doesn't seem substantive to what is going on. One person doesn't work for us anymore, and April 4th has already passed. But I think that they have their clear marching orders to come back. I just don't know if this is a necessary step. Thank you.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Oops, sorry, Councilor Hayes. Wait a minute, I just put Councilor Winslow on instead. Councilor Winslow, if you just hold for Councilor Hayes, please.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
Look, who are you?
Councilor Hayes, and then if you could
Okay,
just
sorry, great.
hold for Councilor Cologne Hayes, sorry.
So thank you. I'm not on committee, but I was here and present. I have so many questions on this. And so it looks like, yeah, if we're just voting to have someone come back, to have them come back and go into a little bit more depth with the whole committee, that's fine. But I don't see here that we're voting on an option, which is good. And yeah, because there's a lot of questions that I have around this whole idea, which I'm sure everybody here does, about where we're going to add additional housing in our city. So if we're just voting to have them come and talk, I'm fine, but I'd like to not say a particular strategy. I don't know. That's just.
May I just kind of clarify this a little bit? So, and Councilor Crowe, do you want to speak first before I do? Yeah, so it's not just come back and talk to us again. So I think when we narrowed it down to one of the scenarios is to do a more depth analysis on lots of other things. So again, there's going to be many, 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 many more conversations and votes and engagement before we have to go to the planning board if we make some zoning changes. So, but you couldn't be doing all 3 scenarios. You needed to kind of start narrow it down a little bit so we could dive a little deeper, and then more decisions will be made as the process goes along. We do have until December, the end of December, but the zoning has to be changed and everything has to be enacted by then to make sure that we are in compliance.
Okay, that makes.
You were
That
on.
makes sense.
I don't know if I'm going to confuse the issue a little bit, but let me try to see if I can get a level set here for a minute. As Councilor Crowe said, we had 3 scenarios last week. The goal of last week was for the ordinance committee to come up with a recommendation of bringing forth one scenario for the consultants to drill down on. That scenario, to my way of thinking, is coming out tonight to the full council to make sure the full council is in agreement that we are giving instructions to the consultants. And the working group that is going to form, you folks all received my email that we have a couple of councilors that are going to be on that working group. They are going to go back to the drawing board, take into consideration all of the conversations that happened at the ordinance committee meeting, and then come back with another iteration. The scenario that we passed, the scenario that the ordinance committee passed last week was the broadest scenario possible. You did not go for the 2 that were more limiting in scope. So I think that what we're doing here tonight is just as a full council body saying, yes, we agree. Now, whether it's, we can talk about whether it's worded right or not, but this is what I thought we were doing. We're saying, yes, as a full council, we agree that we're going with scenario 1 for the working group to start as their base. And then they will come back to us with how they're dovetailing it down, because it needs to get narrowed down. We need to decide if Overlook Ridge is going to be in there. You know, we need to make some big decisions. You know, are we going to stay in the downtown? You know, what is it that we want here? So I think this was just a collective, yes, the council as a whole agrees, working group, go off and do your job. That's the way I saw it tonight.
But on one scenario.
Huh, pardon me? Right.
But on the one scenario.
Just on the one scenario, that they were giving the go-ahead from the council. So that's kind of what I saw. So I don't know. I'm not sure if, maybe there's some confusion in the way this is worded. I think I'll give our resident, almost lawyer here, no. But that's the intent that I saw. If we need to reword it for next week, that's fine. I think everybody knows I think we're all in agreement. Scenario 1 is the way to go. At least that's what I've heard. So we can.
Councilor Winslow.
Councilor, yeah, we have a number of other lights. Actually, Councilor Condon is next.
No, Councilor
Oh, I'm sorry,
Winslow is in the
Councilor
queue.
Winslow. I'm sorry, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Winslow, go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, no, I mean, what was presented was, first of all, was the steps we're going to take to get to a final, decision. So this is just, last week was kind of one of the first steps. And the vote was really to say what the second step is, and it's really just saying there's going to be, I think, community meetings. It's just what will be developed to further discuss. I mean, there's no true decision in this, and it was broad to give flexibility so that we can winnow that down. But I mean, I think in particular, I think there was, Overlook Ridge or, altitudes or whatever that, those, I think we kind of said, let's not overemphasize those because those aren't really that transit reliant. So I think that was scenarios 2 and 3 emphasized those more. And so I think we kind of settled on that. But there's still a lot of room for discussion and winnowing. So, and I think the other point that came out was we're very concerned about, I think there's a general sense of even the existing areas have ground level retail. And we definitely want to make sure that whatever we're recommending going forward does not undermine what's been an ongoing effort to preserve ground level retail with housing above. We don't want to, by right, we want to figure out solutions that do not undermine what we're trying to achieve in making sure that we have, that the multi-use is not, that housing doesn't exclude multi-use. So I think those were some of the guidelines that I think I think we're taking into account the comments Councilor O'Malley made in particular, and I was concerned about that of wanting to see that we have multi-use areas that have housing but don't eliminate commercial areas that we already have. So I think that's what my understanding is, but it's just we're very far away from any firm decision, but it's just sort of we're heading off on this path and we're going to keep talking. So, but we could have headed off here or there, but we're heading off that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Madam President. I think the Ordinance Committee made a good vote, and I certainly will support it. When I hear the words "by right," I'm sorry, but it just it scares me, especially when you're dealing with the MBTA, because they're concerned with one thing: increasing their ridership, not how beautiful Malden Square looks, because the square's never looked any better than it does now. That's what most of us are concerned with, and we should be, because if you walk before you run, you could have a runaway freight train on your hands here. So kudos to the Ordinance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Condon. Councilor McDonald, one moment, please. Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to briefly say a word about MBTA communities, and for folks who have not been following all of this, it's a requirement for the state, for those communities that are served by the MBTA, that we allow certain amount of residential housing. So we don't actually have to build any of it. It's that we make sure that in our zoning, a certain amount is allowed automatically without needing a special permit or having there's a lot of restrictions about it, which is why we need our consultants, within a certain distance to transit access. And so MBTA in the MBTA communities is an adjective, not a noun. It just means the communities that are served by the MBTA, but, and this came up in the committee hearing, the MBTA itself has no role in this particular requirement, which is all defined. I mean, it's better that way from my perspective, but nonetheless. So that's where, so I appreciate this. The only other thing that I heard strongly, in addition to the being able to protect and enhance our corridors and our main streets and our mixed-use development, is affordability. And I just want to I'd like to make sure that's reflected in the minutes as another consideration. I saw the consultants taking notes, so I fully expect that, but that we're finding ways to make sure that we're strengthening and protecting and extending the affordability protection, so that we're building housing that people can afford to live in, who live here. And they seem to think there were some things we could explore in that direction. They were taking notes. They said they'd get back to us. So I just wanted to make sure that's also included in the list of things to work on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't want to be redundant, but to echo what some of my colleagues have said, I think we've done the right thing here by moving in the broadest direction possible. I think that gives us not just the latitude to involve as many neighborhoods of the city and as many councilors in being part of the solution, but just from a development perspective, I think you give yourself as many options as possible when you look at potential zoning, because again, it is about it's not about construction, it's about potential zoning. So we have to create zoning districts where things can be built without having to go before the planning board for a special permit. That's what this is about. We chose the option among the three that the consultants gave us that includes the most areas of the city. We could choose to eliminate, for example, Altitude or Rose Quarry, or we could carve out a piece of it and decide, yes, it's appropriate for a parcel. Same thing in Ward 3. There's a very small sliver on Summer Street that could be included, or we might decide that that's actually not the best fit. I think the key thing is that if we don't start refining down from the three options, we can't move into scenario modeling, which is the nitty-gritty of what we all want to know. Things like traffic impacts, likely parking changes, height, setbacks, et cetera. We can't actually start to envision that built environment and do that scenario modeling until we have a option to go with. And that's really what we've done here. So I think we've set up a working group. Thank you to Council President Murphy for doing that. I know it's a small group, but I would hope that we could schedule it at a time when those of us who want to participate or who it starts to look like our wards are going to be very affected by it can participate in that. And I would just encourage members of the community, if you want to learn more about it, we did record the meeting last week. It's a very comprehensive overview of the law, what we're up against, and what we're considering and how to be responsive. As Councilor McDonald said, it is a requirement, but we want to do it in a way that best fits Malden and achieves our affordability goals and helps to continue the beautification and economic development that we've done in the downtown and be thoughtful. So I would encourage anybody that's wanting to learn more to watch that meeting, engage with any of us, and just trust that we're going to be staying involved in the process and considering those neighborhood level concerns once we can move to that next stage of actually diving into this model.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you. Yeah, for the second time. I'll be honest with you. The working group is, I think, a good thing to set up. I think it does make sense to kind of help herd the cats. Looking at all of the options, Ward 4 is really significantly impacted. There are two of the largest blocks that are being proposed in Ward 4. I'm really concerned about the fact that we could be giving up a lot of our prime development space related to commercial development to this. And I personally would like to be on the working group, considering how impacted it has on my neighborhood. I think alternatively, what Councilor Linehan proposed, if the working group can publicly post their meetings so that we could attend, that might be another way to approach it. I just talked to Councilor Simonelli, also, because he's obviously cares a lot about affordable housing. I don't know if maybe there's a way to kind of represent the different neighborhoods, because I mean, we have the west part of the city being represented by Councilor Spadafora, you know, the east part of the city being represented by Councilor Winslow. I don't know if maybe the south part of the city could be represented by Councilor Simonelli. Maybe I could represent the center. Just an idea. Or if it's publicly available, that gives us an opportunity to kind of show up and participate. That would be nice too.
Just an answer to your question, because there are counselors on the meeting, it's not just an interdepartment meeting anymore, so it will be a public meeting, so there will be an agenda, it will be posted, and that's how it will move going forward. Just for all your edification, my choice of counselors to be on the committee was based on some past practices. Councilor Spadafora and Councilor Winslow worked very well together on affordable inclusionary zoning and came up with a product I think that we all in the end agreed with. I think that both of them, although Councilor Winslow is not a counselor at large anymore, he is a ward counselor. He started off as a counselor at large, as is Councilor Spadafora. Their job, you know, is to look at the city in totality and kind of, you know, respect the needs of all of the citizens. I think Councilor Winslow, we've seen in everything that he does, he's never left the counselor at large position, whether it's storm drains or lead lines or whatever he's doing. He's, you know, he's looking at it from a global perspective. So I'm not going to add to the committee, but I would say you're all welcome to attend, and certainly, you know, there's going to be a tremendous amount of discussion and dialogue as this moves forward. So I'm sure we'll all be involved in many different ways.
And then would those be evening meetings so that we could attend?
I don't know that, you know, it basically is going to be run out of OSPCD, so it's certainly something that we can talk to Director Burke and also our planner, city planner, et cetera.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I mean, or if they could be, you know, recorded, or even like remote participation, so we can tune in if we aren't able to attend during the day because we're working. And the only other thing I'd recommend is a hearing. We did have it live, which I think was helpful to kind of get the word out, but kind of like the, you know, enrolling and ordaining. Having, the more times we can let people, I don't want people to feel like we're seeking this under the door. So really having a hearing and hearing what people have to say, I think is going to be crucial. I don't know if that happens in the working group or if that happens here, but I think it probably should happen before it's baked and completed, and we just feel like, here, what do you think about our finished product? You know?
I think I can't imagine that anything is going to come down fully baked to us. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for input.
Perfect.
And, you know, meetings. We're probably going to be sick of them by the time it's done. This is a big project.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just like to say that I think this is very exciting for my neighborhood. I like what I'm hearing. I mean, I'm busy enough, I guess, in my neighborhood doing things that I'm doing in there. I've got a multitude of projects that I'm working on down there, but I do like the vibe that I'm hearing here because, you know, when we talk about low moderate income and we talk about apartments, housing developments, I have a lot of that. And, you know, I'm a little bit saddened by the fact that the MBTA doesn't have more transit going through my community, because we were so far away from the train station, it makes it much more difficult for my folks to be able to get to the train so they can get it to downtown or wherever they have to go. So a lot of them are walking from my district and have been for a long time. So I encourage this. I really like what I'm hearing. I think my community will like what they're hearing from this meeting too. And I know you'll have a lot of meetings, and I will always count on you, Council President, to always keep me informed and tell me that you think I should go to this meeting, that meeting, and this meeting, and I appreciate that. And I will do that. So whatever I can do to lend a hand, and, you know, I think you all know my neighborhood well enough anyway. And, you know, I would look forward to getting as much MBTA transportation as I can down to my neighborhood, so it would allow, because I think right now they shut off at like, I think, I don't know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, Councilor McDonald. Do you know that information? What time usually the trains shut down, I mean, the buses shut down in my area, in the district? Last bus, like around 9 o'clock, I think it is. Yeah, well, I thought you did. It was, it's like 9 o'clock, and, you know, that's a little difficult when people are trying to get back and forth from work, especially if they're working the night shift. So I encourage this. I think this is, I think it's a good plan so far, so
Thank
I'll
you.
be involved.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Crowe.
I was just, if there's no other lights.
Oh, we have Councilor Hayes. One second, Councilor Hayes.
Thank you. Just wanted to, one quick thing I was going to say, and of course, Councilor O'Malley said the same thing. If these meetings, because I would really like, I didn't realize that people already picked on this. This is a big topic for me, affordable housing. I've been fighting on this for 15 years here in Malden. But I do have so many concerns about this, with the density already in here, and I don't like being sort of told where, you know, that we need to do this. I would like to come from us. So if this could be either on Zoom meetings or at a time where the public can chime in, this is going to be a hot topic, even though really great things could come from it. So I just want to put that in there also, that if it's at a time and possibly recorded or on a Zoom would be great. I think it just helps to be, we're not great at communicating things as they're happening. So, and this is going to be, I'm just concerned about, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Hayes. Councilor Crowe, I'll come back to you in a minute. Just from the chair, a couple of things. Number one, for those of you listening, this is MBTA zoning overlay that Governor Baker signed before he left office. What we're talking about is we're talking about by right zoning in areas that are close to a T station or a bus stop. There's different levels depending on whether you have an actual MBTA line like the Malden station in Oak Grove coming through your community or your commuter rail. Each community has different overview that they can look at for this overlay. It is not being demanded by Governor Baker or this ordinance. Okay, there is a choice here. Okay, we can choose not to participate, but should we choose not to participate, it basically excludes us from a lot of funding mechanisms that would support some of the things that we want to do, which is why we're looking at it. So it's a choice that, you know, that we're making, and we're looking at this in totality. Number two, as Councilor O'Malley, Councilor McDonald mentioned, affordable housing. That's something that's near and dear to all of our hearts up here that we've been trying to work on. But affordability is not a component of this particular overlay that has been given to us. We're trying to work within our current zoning to make sure that some of that holds true in this. But it was kind of odd to us that the state would put in an overlay district like this and not include any affordability associated with it. But it's something we are looking at as a council. So, having said that, just wanted to get those two things out there a little bit clearer. Councilor McDonald, you second time? Did you want to go speak?
I did. I just wanted to let Councilor Simonelli know that the last 105 bus leaves Bowdoin Street at 6:45 p.m. on weekdays. So
That's
great.
terrible, right?
It's not great. It's not great.
But
the new
this
map is better.
I knew you'd get it.
The power of the internet, yeah. And also, you know, I would also just say, I mean, I think when we first started talking about this, we thought about it as a choice, but I also learned the Attorney General has issued an opinion saying, I want you all to hear, it's not a choice, and you have to do this. And so I suppose we could.
I didn't hear that
Yeah,
one. So,
yeah.
okay.
It was like,
Yes, I saw that.
she came out pretty strong against that. So, but which is what we're doing anyway. So it doesn't change anything. But I think that's the guidance from the AG. Thank you.
So 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. it's going to be running. When's that, you think?
See, it's better in the new design.
It's the bus network redesign.
That's right, bus network redesign.
And then
don't think buses are involved in this, but.
The 109 down Broadway is gonna run from 5 AM to 1 AM as well, so there's a little bit.
It's not about the buses before.
No buses in this.
Okay, so Councilor Crowe, finally back to you as the chair of the committee. I make a motion that we endorse as a council exploring scenario 1. And do I have a second on that?
I'll second it, I'll second it.
Second, Councilor Simonelli.
Go, go, go.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
No,
Okay.
Was that a no? Was that a no? I wasn't sure what that was. You sound like it was kind of like almost.
The motion is passed.
Was it nay?
9 to 1. 9 to 1.
Oh, yeah, I got you. I just haven't heard that in a while.
Oh, my goodness.
Nay.
Okay. Just from the chair, I know it's not on the docket, but Councilor McNeil is going to issue, you all got a letter from her about remote access recently. So there's going to be a new one coming out. So just some updates to clarify a few things. So please be on the lookout for that. There a remote access memorandum that came out, legal memorandum from Councilor McNeil. So just please be on the lookout for that, okay? Next order of business? The docket is clear, yay. So personal privilege. Councilor Crowe, first up. Thank you, Madam President. And now that Easter is over, and congratulations to everybody that did some wonderful Easter events or egg events. Next up, Councilor Winslow and I will be hosting our annual Malden Bike Fair, Bike Safety, on May 6th at the Ferryway School from 10 to 1 p.m. Besides Councilor Winslow and myself, it's Cambridge Health Alliance, Bike to the Sea, the YWCA, and a few more, Kiwanis, absolutely. And so we've been meeting, and we do a bike helmet giveaway, we do some safety courses, we do fix up the bikes, we do a little bike raffle. It's a great, it's a lot of fun, it's a great family event. Flyers will be going out to the schools. We ask people to use the QR code so we don't have this onslaught of people at the beginning, but we kind of separated them out during the day. But again, it's 10 to 1 on May 6th at the Ferryway School. This time of year, all your days get filled up, so put it on the calendar. And I will be hosting on May 14th, Mother's Day, the annual Mother's Day breakfast at Anthony's on Canal Street. It's from 9:30 to 11:30. And, moms, sisters, aunts, just people that are important in your life, we come and celebrate them. So be looking forward to that. And again, put that on your calendar, and I hope to see you all. Thank you. Because I can see it there. I just wanted to see it's the 29th, Saturday, that's all I need. Okay, Saturday. Okay, Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. So I talked about this last week when we were not on camera, so I'm going to do it again. And so I would like to invite everyone to our Juneteenth Music Bingo fundraiser. So as most people know, I was part of the committee that brought Juneteenth for the first time in Malden, a celebration 6 years ago. We've relied on grants and funding and some ARPA funds, and we want to make sure that this is sustainable. So we're trying to raise funds of our own. So we're going to have our first ever Juneteenth fundraiser, and we really need people to sign up for this. So we have to at least break even, and we're pushing it out there because it's coming up fast. It's Thursday, April 27th. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Irish American. And again, it's music bingo, so it's a lot of fun. You'll win some prizes. And it's basically you play a song for like a minute really fast, and then you look on your card will be the names of the song. So that's how it goes. It's a lot of fun. And so hopefully you can sign up. I will post it on my site on Facebook, but you can also go to, let's see if I can read this off. It's Juneteenth musicbingo.eventbrite.com. So we're on Eventbrite, so you can go and purchase your tickets there. They're $30. Thank you, and that includes 5 cards.
Thank you, Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor McDonald.
I want to, again, invite folks to the Green Malden Fair this Saturday, 1 to 4 p.m. at Pine Banks Park. There, you can sign up for our new compost program. Are you going to talk about the compost? I'm not. Go for it. Okay. Our new compost program, we have a new deal with Black Earth Compost so that you get a great rate as a Malden resident. If we have 300 residents sign up, we'll get even a 30% discount from there. The current rate is $16 a month for pickup every other week. And for the first 300 folks that are signing up in Malden, we will give you free the compost bin, which is a great heavy-duty locking bin. It's totally like animal-proof, so that's not a concern. It's been great experience in other cities and towns. So please sign up for your compost. I just switched to Black Earth, and it's been great. And my kids really love a trash bin that's like this big, and they can roll it out. It's like their size, and they can roll it out to the curb. It's very cute. So you can sign up for compost at Green Malden Fair. We also have styrofoam disposal, electronic waste disposal, paper shredding. People, I don't know why, but people like the paper shredding. There is no official limit, but just be reasonable, and there's no commercial shredding. And lots of other great things. We're kicking off our Climate Action Plan community engagement. So we were working with our consultants, and there'll be ways to talk about how climate change is impacting you and your community. And so we'll have multiple languages present for that as well. So I hope you all come out to the Green Malden Fair. It's been a great collaboration with our city staff and community groups. So it's Green Malden Fair. I wanted to just say a word as chair of the Finance Committee. That, as I mentioned, we are likely going to schedule our committee meeting on community development block grants next week. A lot of folks have been asking about the 2 papers related to Roosevelt Park. We are tentatively scheduling those for a meeting on April 25th, and I am working as we are talking about open meetings with our MATV. With the support of our council president to make sure that there is a live stream access option to observe the meeting as well. So we'll be hoping to do more of that as we move into the budget cycle. I want to make sure that as many people can follow our finance committee discussions about the finances of the city and those big picture decisions as possible. So stay tuned for that. We'll be posting more information about the meeting, but folks have been asking about that, so I just wanted to say that is the current plan. That's April 25th. It'll likely, again, we haven't set the time. It's probably 5:30 or 6 p.m. On Tuesday, April 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Winslow.
So just adding a little note about the Malden Green Fair on this coming Saturday. We will also have Taylor Deneliner, who's helping tool design, and she'll be there getting information about a complete streets planning. So there'll be some things there that if people want to know about and have suggestions on what we need to do to make our streets safe for all modes of transportation, come out for that. And then on April 22nd, the Friends of Malden River and Bike to the Sea are hosting a community cleanup starting at Canal Street at 9 a.m. So that'll be a big thing for Earth Day itself. So yeah, and then obviously the mayor's office and the whole city's sponsoring that. So thank you.
Councilor Linehan.
Thank you. I wanted to, I guess, piggyback on the Earth Day celebrations and just share that not this upcoming weekend, but the Saturday following on the 22nd, I'm going to be hosting a community cleanup at Fellsmere Park with the local Girl Scout troop, 71131. That's going to be starting at 10 a.m. We're going to meet on the Savin Street side. I'll bring all the supplies and snacks that folks need, so just bring yourself. I think we'll probably be there until about noon. So come one, come all. We'd love to see you down there with the Girl Scout troop to get the pond area cleaned up. And then, did anybody mention the school, the job fair, the after school? Okay. My neighbor was yakking in my ear a little bit, so I didn't know if I missed anything. So on Saturday, May 6th, I want to mention, I know it's about a month away, but I know that the school department is really eager to get folks turned out to this. On the BB School Plaza from 9 a.m. to noon, again, that's on May 6th, the Saturday, there's going to be a job fair for the after-school program. We're hoping to really do some good recruitment for a number of positions heading into next year. As Councilor McDonald and I well know, getting a spot in the after-school program is like, I'm gonna say harder than Taylor Swift tickets. I don't know, I lack a good analogy for this, but it is really like, you've got a golden ticket if you have a space in that program. And it's not for a lack of trying or wanting to get staff recruited and filling those slots. So if you know anybody that might be looking for a position, the salaries are all listed on the Malden PS website. Or you can reach out to me and I'm happy to send that link around, but definitely spread the word. This is a great opportunity to help us add space to the program that people are sorely in need of, and also just a great opportunity to work for the City of Malden. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you very much. St. Paul's Church on Florence and Washington Street will be hosting a Downton Abbey concert and a tea tasting event. That will be on Saturday, April 29th at 2 p.m. You can get your tickets online. I'm not going to read the URL, but if you know anyone at the parish, or Lisa Perro from Ward 5, definitely would be able to help you out getting tickets. And it's Happy Tax Day coming up, everyone. Yeah, don't forget to pay your taxes.
Aren't you cute? Councilor Simonelli, were you? Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I was there. Thank you.
There you are, Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to thank all the volunteers and friends and family that came out for our pancake breakfast at the DAV this past Saturday. It was a fun-filled day. We had the Peter Cottontail was there doing his job. I just want to thank all the hard work that all the volunteers had put in to that day. And, I didn't think making pancakes was that difficult. Well, I found out that it was. But we had a great time. It was great to see, the community coming out. And I think that, that has been something that I have been campaigning on from the beginning, that I wanted to try and get my neighborhood out engaged a little bit more, meeting their neighbor. We've all been kind of locked in our houses over the COVID stuff, and I just wanted to get people more involved. And the pancake breakfast really showed that things are working, because a lot of people did come out, and not just from the neighborhood but from the entire city. I want to give a shout out to Bobby Knox from the DPW. Wouldn't be able to get all the equipment there if it wasn't for him and his team. I'd like to thank Wayne Martineau and Andy Scarano, and I want to thank all the city councilors that came and helped clean up and engaged with the community and did all kinds. I'd like to thank the mayor. The mayor came down, and I got to say, when the mayor comes down, he doesn't come down and just go there for pictures or any of that stuff. He rolls up his sleeves and he gets deep right in with it and helps out. And I really appreciate that, because that's what community is all about. And I also want to thank the seniors for the following day, which was actually Easter Sunday, for inviting me down to their dinner on that Sunday. And I would like to also thank the Clean River Project folks for inviting me on a ride on the Malden River with Councilor Spadafora. And we took I got to say, all my years, I'm ashamed to say this, but all my years of living in the city, I've seen the river from the embankment, but never have actually been out on the boat. And boy, we've got a really beautiful oasis out there. And I think it's so important for us living in a densely populated community like Malden, Medford, and Everett to really take hold of places like the Malden River, Pine Banks, even our little parcels of land and the bike path, because as things grow and we get more populated, these things are a breath of fresh air. And I appreciate all the work that has been done down there on that river. We sailed down there, and we saw blue herrings and all kinds of different wildlife, which I never really knew was there. And we're working with with those folks at the River Project folks, and we have talked to the mayor already, and he's very enthused about it, like I knew he would be, to talk with them about getting like a 3-year contract to be able to go down there and clean all the muck and bottles and all the stuff that is down there, and then they kind of peruse the river, if you will, periodically from there and dock right down there in Medford. So, I mean, I was in awe. I do have a video of it I will show my colleagues, but I was so fascinated that I was, I don't know, kind of loud and obnoxious. So I don't want to show anyone else but my colleagues on that one. But I got to say that it was just something to see. You know, I come from the east side of the city, and, you know, growing up in Malden years ago, you really didn't go hanging down the river unless you were up to no good. And I'm going to tell you, you know, from what I experienced, you know, I think that we really should all roll up our sleeves and take part in trying to do the right thing when it comes to these little oases that we have here in the city. And on that last note, I will say that on May 13th, the day before Mother's Day, Ward 7 will be having Mother Earth Day. And we will be down at either Lincoln Commons or Harvard Park. For those that don't know Harvard, it's Miller. We haven't decided yet, but we're going to be giving away bushes and bags of mulch to our homeowners. I have already talked with the apartment owners and businesses in the community, and they're going to do their share, and we're going to do a major cleanup down in Ward 7, but we're also going to ask people to take part in the DCR contract that the mayor's office got for the City of Malden on planting trees on their own property. So we'll be having sign-ups for that too, and that'll be on May 13th. So, with that all being said, thank you very much for your cooperation.
Councilor Winslow. Oop, 1 second, there you go.
I just want to say Chinese Cultural Connection has its fundraising coming up on April 29th. I don't know if you've ever been to that, but it's a great fundraiser, and they have some great silent auctions and other auctions. And this year, rather than being in Boston, it's going to be here at Ming's in Malden, so no excuse to... so that's on April 29th, and you can go to their website to sign up. So just want to let people remember. I think it's like 6 o'clock. Yeah. So yeah, great.
Thank you. And from the chair, I just want to say that Arbor Day is coming up, and although we're not celebrating exactly on Arbor Day, Ward 5 is working with the Forestdale Cemetery, and we are having an Arbor Day event on Saturday the 29th from 11 to 1. We have trees that are going to be planted. We have going to put teams together of people with someone who knows how to plant a tree. The holes will be pre-dug. There will be tools there for you to use. We're just asking people to bring their gloves. There will also be a scavenger hunt, and it's not a scavenger hunt like where people are going to be, you know, going through grave sites or anything like that. It's basically to find a tree. It will be to find an oak tree, to find an elm tree, to find a certain tree in there, so the kids will have a passbook and get a sticker when they find the, you know, the specific species that's on the list. There'll also be an arts and crafts table for the younger folks, but we're really, you know, looking forward to showcasing the cemetery and also helping to put more trees in there, which I know Councilor O'Malley is, he's right there with me on this one. You know, a lot of the older trees have started to age out, and so, you know, we're definitely looking at a program to put more forest in Forestdale. So that's the way I like to say it, so that's great. So with that, the rain date on that is the Sunday the 30th, if it rains, which we hope it doesn't on Saturday. So with that, the docket is clear. There's no more lights. Do I have a motion to adjourn from Councilor O'Malley, seconded by Councilor Simonelli? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your attendance.
Feel better?